Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. We're back at Nottingham, and I'm afraid that Eugene's taken away the camera, and so right now we don't have any video, but instead what we have is we have me, and also what we have is we have a cracking game on Lawn 1, which is why we're going to try to persevere without video. This is Charles Sharpe from Australia versus Edmund Fordyce from New Zealand. And if you caught the very tail end of our last bit of stream, when Eugene and I sort of ran out of things to talk about and started describing the layout of the roof, you may have heard one of us say that this should be a really good match. And that's because Block A is a very, very difficult block indeed. But nevertheless, both Edmund and Charles have not lost a single match yet. And now that's going to change because the two are playing each other. So Edmund won the toss and went in as blue and black. But nevertheless, Charles took hoop 1. Edmund took hoop 2, and this happened pretty quickly. And now they seem to be stuck in a little bit of a tussle at hoop 3. So the situation at the moment is that there are no balls really in front of the hoop. Charles is playing red in front of the hoop at the moment. Yellow's around hoop 6, black's around hoop 6, and blue is off to the side a couple of meters away to the side of hoop 3. So Charles opts for deepish position. I think that's right. So blue can't really do much with red. And then Edmund feeds in a deepish black, and it eked past the side of blue. So I wonder if he was trying to nudge blue in front. Charles then feeds a second ball into deepish position. But to be honest, I think he's gone the wrong side of black here because yellow is very easily cleared by black. And now Edmund's just feeding a ball in quite close to the hoop, and Charles is lining up a shot, and I think this is a hoop shot. Red probably does run, but it's not the nicest hoop shot in the world. And that's a pretty good shot, but it didn't go through. It sort of hit just slightly away from where he would have been aiming, and on some hoops that may have gone through, in fact, but on these hoops not today. And now Charles is in a bit of an awkward position at this hoop because Edmund just knocks yellow away. He takes a bit of angle to send black off the boundary right in front of 3. Red's to the side of the hoop and blue slap bang in front. So now Charlie's clearing from the west boundary, shooting over towards blue, which is at most 2 foot in front of 3. Both players are playing pretty quickly, so I'll try to keep up with the descriptions. That's a great clearance. So I caught a couple of Charlie's games yesterday, and Charlie was just clearing left, right, and centre, and he's just done another. He clears from level with hoop 2 or thereabouts on the boundary. He clears he clears Edmund away from the hoop, going off into corner 3. Edmund, if I'm honest, goes a bit tight to the hoop for my liking, given that red is right next to the hoop and is ready to clear blue away. But nevertheless, I think you need to clear this, Charlie. So Charlie's umming and ahhing between either putting red, say, an inch in front and letting yellow clear, or whether to clear blue. And that's actually no, I think that's the right shot after all. So I think Charlie's hidden from black here, or at least tried to. So Charlie hid from black behind blue, and the threat being that yellow, which was in corner 3, was just going to pummel blue far away, and then red runs. Edmund came up with a counter, a pretty strong counter, which was, I'm going to run the hoop from the boundary. And yeah, good job. So now the score is 2-1 to Edmund, and Charles's first ball down to hoop 4 is not, so it's running, but it's not that straightforward. Edmund tried to get tight up to the hoop to try to put the pressure on yellow's hoop shot, and he's actually gone just past. And that means that now red can feed a ball in, and if red gets wide from blue here, then Charles is in a good position. I think that's just straight, just around. And so, yeah, Edmund now has the luxury of just being able to feed a ball into position. And Now Charles has got a bit of a dilemma. What does he do? Does he either take on a tricky hoop shot or what? And actually, Black healed in the closing moments of his approach, and so I don't think Black's actually got much of a hoop shot now. And that's a really good hoop shot. Two all. Now I think I saw Eugene wandering around on the ground with a camera. We're just going to go see if he's finished already with that other event. And if so, we should get some video to go with this great match. In the meantime, Edmonds just put a ball slap bang in front of 5, and the two players exchanged a bit of a smirk because Black, when it held to in front of Black, when it held in front of 4, snuggled up quite closely with Red. But they're touching. They're touching. So actually, Charles played a bit of a croquet shot there. Didn't quite get the angle right, and now Red is slightly to the side. But yeah, strongest position, but Charles needs to get rid of blue here. I'll be right back, ladies and gents. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. We found the camera. We caught Eugene running off with it, and it's back on the roof now. So you've actually missed out on a really great game. Um, so the score went 2-1 to Edmund, and then 2-all. And then at hoop 5, Charlie did well to sort of stay in the game, hoop for a bit, but eventually Edmund ran. And then at hoop 6, Charlie was really unfortunate. He sent a ball to clearance when Edmund was maybe like 4 yards in front of the hoop, only just to rush peel Edmund through. And then shortly after that, he was 5-2 down, but then Charlie ran a good 8 to take it 5-3. As we rejoin the game now, um, we see that Edmund is pretty much in the jaws of hoop 9. Charles had a couple of goes at the jump, close but not quite in both times. And yeah, I think Edmund here is looking to make it 6-3. I don't think he's looking to make it. I don't know how far he's planning to get up the lawn, and in fact, no, he's just settling for being 6-3 up. But nevertheless, that's a pretty commanding scoreline, um, and I think he'll be pretty pleased with that. So, um, so joining us or joining me on the roof again is Eugene. Um, just need to change one thing. So, Eugene, I think you're off mic at the moment, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's all right.
Let's see. Okay, audio.
You just need to scroll up a bit into the right. Just scroll the other way.
So, whilst we're just sorting some stuff out there, what we see.
Hello. No, it's fine. Okay. Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
just a couple of technical glitches. So what happened there was you can't actually see it. It's off camera, but Red got a slap bang in front of hoop 10. And because of this, Edmund felt like he had to go for the rush on blue, but with black. But black instead collided with the hoop, and now we see why Edmund was so keen to have blue away from that hoop. It's because this shot now is being hampered very much by the hoop, and unless he does something about red, this shot, Charles is going to run to take the score to 6-4. And yeah, in the end, the most that Edmund could do was really feed blue down there gently.
Hi, it's Eugene here. I'm afraid I'm about to go and chat to somebody who's interested in croquet in Sheffield, so I'll be leaving you again. Sorry, Will, I know you're a bit lonely here.
Yeah, it gets a bit lonely up here. Even my wife doesn't want to join me up on the roof, I'm afraid, but it's okay.
Where you bring the other ladies?
I think that was just off mic and probably for the best. But so anyway, back to the croquet, and yeah, a couple of good balls in. Edmund opting to clear with his second, and I think that's a sort of mark of how he's expecting Charlie to make this clearance on black. Black actually seems a little bit angled, so I'm not 100% sure he needs to clear this, but no, he's opting to clear anyway. And that ceded a lot of control to black. I suppose black at 6-4 up, he doesn't need to run this down to 12, he just needs to get this through. I don't know whether Edmund here is just settling for the jaws or the hoop. No, this is hoop and straight through, easy. So Edmund played extremely well there, as did Charlie. Unfortunately, this game was kind of pivoted around something that wasn't on camera, which was this rush bill through six. But it's just a stroke of bad luck, really. So it looks like both players are pretty keen to restart. There's a bit of wind picking up here. It should remain dry, at least that's what I'm hoping. And yeah, both players are looking to start again pretty quickly. And yeah, so despite being red and yellow, Charles starts the second game off because he lost the first. And that strayed ever so slightly past. So he was going for a very tight position, about 2 feet in front. If you get it, it's really nice. The danger is, though, that if you don't get it, you're in a spot bother pretty quickly. And I think red might just about jaws. But if that runs, I'll be very surprised. And Edmund's just coming over just to check what the situation is. He didn't spend too long looking at it, so maybe it's pretty cut and dry from where they are. Be interesting to see what black does here. Actually, I think really with red so tight to the hoop, black can afford to come about 2 meters straight in front, maybe 3. Does need to be straight though. He doesn't want to leave too much angle, and that could have actually done with maybe another yard on it. I suppose Charles can only clear that about 10 meters away, and that's still well within Edmund's clearing distance. But had it been a bit further along, then Charles could only take it straight off the boundary. It looks like this could be a shot, actually. Yeah, it's a shot, and it's not connected. So maybe Edmund there was trying to prevent red from going into jaws, or maybe he's just playing aggressively. Maybe he's just seeing it as a bonus that red can't run the hoop. And opting to clear anyway. Charles immediately looks towards the hoop. And yeah, he's playing towards it, so is this really hoop? It looks extremely angled. This must be jaws, right? Yeah, and I think that's the most he could do, really. That's a very good shot from where he was. And now Edmund's setting up for a jump shot, it seems. And I think he got it. And that's a very good shot indeed. It's a real swing when you get a jump shot, because had Edmund failed that jump, I don't really see how he was digging that red out that hoop. And then instead of being 1-0 up, he's 1-0 down and at a bad position for 2. And in fact, that jump shot's even better than I thought, because as we pan across now, we see just exactly where black ended up. And most people can put it there into a better spot just by playing it along the ground, let alone in the air through a hoop. So that's extraordinary. And because of that, Charles was forced to take a shot with yellow, and it just missed. He's taking a shot with red, but yeah, when you're going through a hoop, you don't have too much to say about where that ball goes. He shot and missed, and actually, that red being slightly out of position on his very first shot is really the only major mistake that Charles has made this game, and yeah, already he's 2-0 down. So Edmund's come out into the second game, really putting the pressure on. But the thing is, though, is that in the same way that in the same way that Edmund ran a good 1 to get down in front of 2, Charles can do the same to Edmund now, and that's a good start. Yellow's a really nice position, and if it's allowed to stay there, then there's a chance that Charles will run that yellow all the way down to 4, and then level this game off 2-all. Of course, Edmund's got a lot of chances to stop that happening. This is interesting. This looks like a position shot, very tight to the hoop. I'm not sure I like that as an idea, to be honest. You're banking pretty hard on clearing with black, and even if you do clear, I think it opens blue up to being cleared back, and moreover, yeah. But that's a great clearance. I don't think blue's quite in front of the hoop though. So Edmund there cleared the ball very effectively, but the black's gone off towards the penalty point. Because of that, I think Charles should really just be sticking a ball in here. I don't know how much blue can actually do there, unless we're at a bad angle to see this. I don't think blue's even jawsing, let alone running. And so, yeah. And maybe we are at a bad angle because Edmund's not even thought about looking at the red, and he pings that straight through. Yeah, I was just saying, Eugene, that so Eugene's back. I was just saying, Eugene, that I didn't really think that was runnable from where we stood. What did you think?
And what do you know, Will? You're miles away and you need new glasses.
So Eugene's been away from Mike for some time, and I think he spent that time coming up with that comment. Time well spent, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I had to go and do some promotional work. The interesting news is that there are sandwiches available downstairs for the players and officials and people who man the video
For
stuff.
people manning the video, how do you angle that?
Well, apparently, we get food and stuff provided. Sorry, this follow cam's not doing terrifically well. I should probably zoom out a little bit. I wondered if you wanted to comment on Ed's style, because he doesn't, a traditional coach would say, stalk the ball, line it up, take a few swings, and all that kind of stuff.
No, he seems pretty happy to walk up to the ball and hit it. I think the thing about croquet players is that there's loads and loads of ways to play a shot, and the most important thing really is not how it looks or what someone's telling you, but whether it works for the shot you're doing. And for Ed, it seems to be working pretty well. And I sometimes wonder which one's worse. If you're playing against an accurate player and there's like 30 casts in a row, and you just know that at the end of it your ball's going to be miles away, that's pretty demoralizing. But it's also pretty demoralizing when, as soon as you put a ball into position, the next second it's in corner 3. You know, that also sucks. So I'm not sure. I don't know whether which one I prefer to play against.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's one of sort of how do you sort of aim your body, so it's about aiming your body and kind of doing all this kind of stuff right, and it's just amazing. People say he's got very good technique, but doesn't do some of the things that you would associate, if you're coaching somebody from the beginning.
That's the thing, though. I think as soon as you start dissecting your technique too much, you start worrying about it. Like you think, oh, I should be dropping my shoulders right now, and I should be holding my wrists firm until this moment. And the more you think about it, the more you mess it up. It seems like Ed, I think if you asked Ed, how do you play your shots, he probably wouldn't be able to tell you. He just says, I just sort of hit it. I'm guessing that's what he'll probably say. And I think that's a good stage to reach, where you just sort of, you're not quite sure how it works, you just know that it does work. Anyway, a couple of balls have been fed in. Edmund's first ball in wasn't quite in position to run the hoop, so instead he's elected to clear. And I think Charles's first ball in is a bit difficult to run. What do you reckon? I mean, I've been pretty bad at calling these hoop running chances, so
Yeah, I don't think red runs from there.
yeah. I think blue does run. Certainly, having seen a couple of Ed's hoop shots already. Um, I don't think Charlie would be wise to leave that there, so he's shifting it now. I think that's just enough.
I think that's just out of running position, perhaps.
I think it's just enough.
Mm.
So he just grazed it, and Charles's ball has disappeared off to the north boundary, but it's done enough to stop Ed running the hoop right now, I think. And actually, now Red's out of position. Blue's cleared, held position, but you know, Red wasn't in position, so Blue couldn't be after that shot. And now I'd like to see Charles go pretty deep with this position shot. I think he wants
Yeah.
to stay well away, don't you think?
Yeah, I think deep position, what, 4 yards back? 5 yards back?
Yeah.
More?
I think you want to give Ed a bit of a dilemma. I think it's all about finding that spot where Ed's not sure whether to sneak in front or clear. But as the direction Charles is lining up, oh no, maybe that's a bit better. No, he's gone too far. He's gone too far. That's just a straight line to corner 4 almost. If you hit that ball a couple of yards deeper, I think you'll be all right. I mean, having said that, that's a bit of a let off, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's let off there. So it was interesting chatting to your wife yesterday, Rachel, and she was saying that her impression from yesterday was that a lot of these players weren't really checking the ball positions enough. They were sort of doing what we were doing, so sort of eyeballing, and really at this level you want to go and sort of really make sure about some of these shots.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's it can be an easy trap to fall into to not bother checking, and sometimes also to give your opponent too much or too little credit. But with black behind the hoop, I don't think there's much need to check whether that is running. And yellow there, bumbling into blue. It's not quite what he wanted, but it could actually make this clearance a little bit awkward with his foot work.
Yeah, I think that's inadvertently worked, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's not what he was going for, I'm sure, but yeah. Now Ed's gone for the block, which may have been his plan all along. The problem is, I think black can see yellow, so if red goes for the hoop here, he's putting all his eggs into one basket. And to be honest, I'm not even sure red can see this hoop. What do you reckon? What do you reckon, Eugene? Do you reckon red can run this, or?
Well, if you can run it, would you try for the hoop, or?
Well, this is it, isn't it? I think so. This looks like a clearance on black. That's not the right shot. Like it's either blue or hoop, I think. Like it's either black or hoop. Sorry, blue or hoop. But it seems like he's lining up black. Oh God, he's done it again. Oh God, so last game off camera, Charles rush peeled Ed through hoop 6, and it wasn't that likely at all. This time around it was probably a little bit more likely because blue wasn't that far from the hoop, but even so, that's really unfortunate. And actually, it's going to cost Charles a bit, or maybe is that another let off?
Yeah, I think that's a let off. That definitely doesn't run.
So black is strayed to something that I can categorically say will not run. I will be staggered if that runs.
Yeah. What I quite enjoyed when I went down briefly is that the players are actually talking to each other in between, and I quite like that because it is a bit more sociable, and I think there's sort of friendly rivalry, and I compare that to games where they just don't sort of talk to each other. I don't know. What do you find? Do you tend to talk to your opponents in a high quality game?
It really matters a lot. It matters on so many things. Like if you know the guy, and depends how much is riding on it. Like these two guys, they're both playing well, and they're both likely to get qualified at the end of this block stage, almost independent of how this match goes. And I think that takes a bit of pressure off. If this was the last round of the block and one person was going through and the other person wasn't, I think it'd be a very different. I think it'll be much quieter. Um, and if one person started, striking up friendly conversation, he might sort of upset the other. So I think it really matters a lot on the people involved, but also how much is riding on that match.
So was clearance the right shot to take there, or would you have
Yeah,
taken position?
it's tricky, isn't it? Ed's clearing pretty well.
That is clearing well.
So I think I think maybe Charles was worried that Ed was going to do a control clearance on yellow, and then
Well, I thought Ed would have played a clearance there.
yeah, to be honest, I'm a bit surprised he didn't. But mind you, he has got the luxury of being 4-1 up. He can afford to give Charles a couple of hoop shots, and then. But yeah, nice shot.
So you're saying that if you're 4-1 in front, that changes how aggressive you are, with
Yeah,
a situation like
absolutely.
that.
Like say Ed there is 4-1 down, leaving Charles a hoop run to go 5-1 up. Okay, you get first approach to 7, but it's really not great. And if you take that risk over and over again, chances are you'll lose more hoops than you're able to before you win. At 4-1 up, you've got a bit more luxury to take risks like that. So a couple of position shots have strayed a little bit further. I think on the camera it may look like they're quite dead in front, but in fact they're both kind of slightly angled. I think Blue's definitely able to stick in the jaws and maybe run. But yeah, Charles opts to clear, and actually he captures just the wrong side of Blue. If he'd caught it on the other side, Blue would be clearing red only about 4 or 5 yards before it goes off the boundary. As it turns out, by catching that little bit of angle with yellow's clearance, he's now opened up the rest of the lawn to red, and I think Ed is looking to nail this now. And that's a great shot. That's a great shot. So he not only did he get rid of red, which was his primary objective, he's also managed to hold on to blue. And even though blue's not got the easiest hoop shot in the world, blue can easily clear anything that may stray in front of the hoop in the next couple of shots. And so that's a sort of 2-for-1 kind of shot. And not quite. So Charles misses a return clearance. And now Ed's got a 3-yarder to go 5-2 up. And I don't think he'll settle for that. I think he'll probably want decent position at 8 as well. Yep. Went through. Not quite sure what part of the wire it hit to spit off over there. It seems to have gone to the middle of the south boundary, which is a bit of an odd place to run hoops to. But nevertheless,
Yeah, I think he would. He wasn't expecting it to go there. But
no.
anyway.
Anyway, Charles, not too phased out by this, puts a decent ball in, a couple of yards back. And Ed's blue ball has not, well, it's kind of just gone past the hoop there. And so between black being a bit out of position and blue not being in position in front of the hoop, Charles is in a decent position at 8 now. Red's a little bit short, which I think is good. I think you need that distance between red and blue to prevent a straightforward stop shot should black clear this. Would you have been tempted by the block there, Eugene, on black's clearance?
What? Sorry, say that again.
Would you have been tempted by red blocking black's clearance on yellow there?
No, I don't think so. I think I think you can. Sort of my view is, at some point they will miss a few, and I think it's good to kind of get yourself two chances.
Mm. Guess again it's player preference.
Yeah.
But anyway, with Ed missing that clearance and Charles not messing around at the hoops, Charles levels this off to 5-3. It's a bit tricky for him still because because Ed's got first approach over to hoop 9. Charles is almost certainly going to have to pull out a good clearance at 9 to avoid going 6-3 down, and 6-3 is very hard to salvage indeed. So this hoop could be quite an important game in the context. Sorry, hoop in the context of the match. And I think blue's strayed a bit far.
But it's still runnable, I think.
Still runnable.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, it's one of those luxuries of being ahead. Blue just wants to get hoop 9. He doesn't have to worry too much about running up to hoop 10. It's a nice bonus, but he'll settle for just running hoop 9.
And do you think it's good Charlie has to sort of go all out for both clearances, or could he not have just laid one up and taken the shot?
So this is player preference all the time. So if blue runs the hoop, you're in trouble. And so you could say, well, if I take 2 shots, then it's twice as likely that I'll clear. But the problem is, once you clear, clearing is not enough. You have to run it, and putting one ball in and then clearing with a second gives you that ball in. I think with black being so far away there, I think maybe he was hoping that black position wouldn't be so good as it is.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, yellow missing means that this hoop's looking not great for him at the moment. And yeah, Ed's not messing around with his hoops at all.
I mean, I think Ed's technique has definitely been the most impressive for what I've seen so far. He just doesn't look like failing,
Yeah.
It's just hitting so straight at the moment.
Well, I mean, he's justifying, I mean, what we've seen so far is more than justifying his spot as top seed, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you probably know the rankings a bit. Where is he in the rankings?
I think he's top 10 in the world, right? He's
possibly, yeah.
He was in so earlier this year he played in Trans-Tasman for New Zealand against Australia, and to be any member of that team was a real achievement because that was an exceptionally strong team. And I think maybe he and Felix are quite similarly ranked at the moment. I'm not too sure because of I'm not sure how this recent degrading ranking has changed the ordering too much, but I think he's top 10.
Felix was about 6 or 7.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah, Eddie might be slightly below.
Anyway, Charles went very deep there, very deep indeed. I mean, maybe he's just fed up of being cleared by Ed, but
I like to think that was a bad shot. I don't think you'd really ever take such deep position.
I don't know. I don't know whether it's just not good, or whether he was meaning to do that. Mind you, black's gone past the hoop again. I don't know how much of yellow blue can see, and I don't think he really wants to clear anyway.
I don't think Ed's really enjoying the pace of the lawn. I don't think he's. I mean, obviously he's hitting it very straight, but
yeah,
I think he's misjudging the pace of the lawn a bit, really.
Yeah, I think Ed's shooting is saving him a bit here because some of his position shots have been a little bit off. Well,
yeah, that's where holding, centre balling would really make a difference, wouldn't it?
That's the value of those 2-for-1s. But this is the thing. That black should have really been having a hoop shot there rather than the clearance, but nevertheless, he's still in firm control of this hoop. I think Ed's smiling a bit here because if yellow goes near to the hoop, he's going to get crunched up by blue, and if he goes far from the hoop, he gets crunched up by black. I think Charles has realised this and opted for something else.
So is this common to kind of take a position
No,
for clearing?
no, but it probably should be more common than it is because sometimes people are a bit pig-headed and they just say, I know it's not a great situation, but I'm just sticking my ball in and wait to be cleared. I
Yeah,
think yellow there is actually tactically quite astute.
yeah. This is
Um,
like putting out a guard, isn't it? Really?
yeah, and actually it looks a bit like Ed seems to be lining up this clearance. I don't know how much he can actually do with yellow. If he
But
catches
yeah.
any part of the left-hand side, it's just going straight off the boundary. I
Well, I guess Ed's got faith in being able to clear it properly.
mm,
Oh, I'm not sure. Wow.
I like red there. I think that's good. I
Yeah.
think it
Yeah.
puts a bit of worry about blue in his mind. The trade-off is that now yellow's got to be careful to not only clear blue but avoid red. I mean, he needs to get rid of blue here, whether or not red shifts, but it might prey on his mind a little bit. And yeah, it has.
Yeah.
And now it's got,
That probably is game over, isn't it?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice job.
Yeah. Nice one, Ed.
So a pretty short and sweet match. Ed playing very well to beat Charles Sharpe 7-3, 7-3. What was your take on that game, Eugene? What's your summary of that?
So I think that promised quite a lot, really, because you know both the players were doing very, very well coming into it, and you know it's a sort of early chance for them to kind of see how they're coming up against you know some of the better shots, and Ed really came out on top there because his shooting was just superior.
So as someone who doesn't play too much GC, what have you learned from that match?
Um,
Go on,
I've
Eugene.
learned.
Come on, camera.
Okay, go on. Let's
Stop
come on
hiding
camera.
behind it.
Let's have a bit of
Let's
a
have a
chat.
bit of interview.
Yeah, go on. There's nothing else going on. Right. Hopefully there won't be too much feedback from this. I don't know if you can see me really. Let's move this across a bit. Okay, yeah, I'm sort of in the view. Yeah.
I can move around more. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, oh, this is a bit
It's toasty up here.
toasty up here. Yeah. So, well, this is nice. I haven't really sat in front of a camera before.
So Eugene, what did you learn?
What did I learn? I learned that there are some very, very good players at this event, and I have to say that if I was under 21 playing this, I would be very scared of playing Ed Fordyce.
Yeah, it's there's a real premium on not well, not having to play him. So
Yeah.
in fact, I was talking earlier to one of the young English players, James, and he was saying that I was saying, oh, you've done really well. You must be qualified already based on your results. And he's like, yeah, but I want to be more than qualified because I think if I come fourth in my block, I have to play Ed first round in the knockout.
So this is a block-based
I
knockout,
think
is
so.
it?
I'm not 100% sure. I think so. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I've never quite understood the arguments for and against block-based seeding versus whatever the other option is.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, yeah, I guess it's, you know, the block position really does matter here then if it is block-based seeding. But,
Yeah.
you know, I think James to me has looked like the second best player at this event
Yeah.
after Ed. Charlie was looking very, very good as well. And I think the Egyptian players have definitely warmed into things a bit.
Yeah, I think the Egyptian players have had a bit of a baptism of fire. Like they rocked up on day one. I think they're top seeds, right, in their block. So that meant that on day one, game one, they're playing the second seed in the block. So the hardest game that they're going to play until the knockout stages. And you know, different conditions. It was raining, new hoops. It's a lot to deal with. And I think they would have really preferred to have had one of the lower seeded players in the draw first up, just to settle their nerves and get into the tournament. From what I
Yeah.
saw of Mohammed Rashad earlier, he looked strong. He looked really strong. I'd quite like to see him play Ed. I'd quite like to see them play James. I think it'd be really interesting to watch.
Yeah. So there probably isn't an opportunity for them to play some games against each other, is there? So before the actual knockouts. No.
Because they're quite highly ranked each. They're the top seeds in each of their blocks. So yeah, they're probably expected to be extended if everything goes seeded. Maybe quarters now that they've dropped the first round games. But anyway,
That's
it seems like
interesting.
we've got another game occurring on one at the minute. So
Surprisingly, I think it features a New Zealand player.
so there's certainly a lot of people dressed in black. So let's see.
So, well, Will, obviously you play GC a bit. So who else have you been impressed with so far from
Oh,
what
you're
you've
putting me
seen?
on the spot there because I've not watched too much. Let's see. Yeah, Mohammed Rashad I thought was very solid. I really liked. I thought he had really good touch in terms of getting in front of hoops, and his clearing was very good, and knew it as well. So he had quite a good idea of what hoops he could run and what clearances he could do. And when a clearance was quite tricky, he just went for something else. I was really impressed by him. Let's see. I watched a bit of Jamie Gumbrell from Canberra, and I thought he played really well. I think he won. I think he won against his top seeded Egyptian. So, just hearing myself back on the mic now, I'm realizing that all this time, I think I was a bit too far from the mic, and none of that really got recorded. So, but yeah, Mohammed Rashad, very strong. Jamie Gumbrell, pretty strong too. Yeah.
What about the home prospects? Given we're both English players, we need to talk up the home players a bit. So has anyone impressed you in particular?
Now you're really putting me on the spot because
I've seen any of them play.
I've not seen any of them play this weekend. I've seen plenty of them play before, but I've got no idea how they're playing this weekend, and this is a problem. You don't know in a tournament whether people are going to have a bit of a stressful time or what. Oh God, I hate Mac so much. Why did you bring a Mac, Eugene?
There's a volume in here. Just that. Yeah.
So, what's happened is I've been leaning against this, and because it's Mac, it's been clever enough to detect a volume change. How smart is that?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So,
all right, so that's why you haven't come through.
anyway, no, I think England's got a really strong team, and the home advantage. I know it's Atkins hoops, but yeah, it's definitely a home advantage. Ewan last time I looked had won both his matches. I don't know how he's got on today, and yeah, he's been playing good competitive croquet for the last year and a bit now. So yeah, he's got good chances. The problem is though, is that one thing that's quite exciting about the under-21s, and I can kind of attest this from personal experience, is that these guys, they're very strong, but they haven't had time yet to accumulate a bit of match experience, and they don't necessarily remain calm when stuff goes against them. And so they could be having the tournament of their life, and then one lucky shot in the knockout stage, which should only cost one hoop, it could just knock them off their stride altogether, and they could collapse. And similarly, they could just have tournament of their life, and the confidence just builds and builds, and it's very difficult to predict.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I think one of the differences I found between sort of watching, I've played one GC tournament so far, and I've watched some of the sort of more established players who've been around for a while, and I think when something goes against them, so they rush peel something by accident, they definitely don't let their heads drop. Whereas I feel like perhaps some of the players here, they're real sort of hype players, and it's all fine when it's going well, but they haven't worked out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's why I'm a bit reluctant to call who's going to win, who's going to lose. If you go straight off rankings, then you'd say Ed. But like I said, Mohammed's very strong, and lots of players here are sort of momentum players, as in once they get started, like once they get a good start in the game, they just get stronger and stronger and stronger. And you have to be a very, very good player to overcome a momentum player who's in form. So,
just got a helicopter landing behind us, so sorry for the noise. You might be able to see actually. Let me just get that out. The little chopper there. Hey, this is quite nice. We should probably this feels like a BBC breakfast or something.
Yeah.
With a lovely backdrop.
I'm
So
glad. I'm glad you didn't ask to arrange this for breakfast time, though. I wouldn't have been too happy if you said meet on the
no,
roof of Nottingham Clubhouse at
no,
6 a.m.
no
for a
bacon
chat.
butties at 6 a.m. and let's have a chat about how things are going. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been really it's been amazing actually. I wasn't sure what to expect and whether I'd be able to sort of offer any real tactical insight because I've only
Oh no, I've
had
learnt
a
a lot,
decent
Eugene.
games.
Don't do yourself down.
Okay. You mean you've learned a lot about how to plug cameras in to the
I've
right
learnt a lot
boxes?
about how to play at GC.
So what? When we're next playing a match, you're
Yeah.
like, I've got all these tips stored. The fact that I'm 70% to run a
Yeah,
4-yard angled hoop.
exactly.
Yeah.
Eugene's done a terrific job here of setting up the camera, and actually, not just that, not just that, like just launching this camera setup off onto the roof whilst climbing up the ladders a feat in itself. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Well, I've particularly enjoyed this. Shall we see what's going on with the other lawns now? So I think looks like there's a Kiwi player about to play against a Latvian, unless I'm
Nils
reading this wrong.
Reisnes and Jason Hodgett.
Yes.
So,
Right. I'll spin this round so no one can see our face anymore.
yeah, too right. So let's get the commentary ready for the next game. Shall we bring back the WCF logo? I've been missing it.
Yeah. Go on.
Nice.
Nice.
And actually, where's our
You just
event logo? Our event logo's gone.
CA event logo. Oh well, I think you've taken them all off.
Have I taken it off?
You've blanked it. So
Image.
no. Cancel. Right. I think you have you removed it?
I removed something by accident when I was trying to
Right. Okay.
fiddle with
right.
Sorry guys, you don't need to hear this. Anyway, so Jason Hodgett is playing blue and black, and Nils Reasons. I'm sorry, I'm struggling to read his surname here, but all right. So, well, any feedback about the Streamlabs, let us know, and we'll get cracking with the commentary. Yeah, let's get rid of those. Right, so Jason's got a pace of the lawn pretty quickly. He's put 2 decent balls in front. Blue's about a metre or so in front, and black is about 2 and a bit meters in front. Red, on the other hand, is a little bit short, and already Nels is having to clear blue just to stay in the hoop. And no, that's not quite. It's not quite. Hodgett, Hodgett, Nrisners. I think
This is a bit like a site test.
yeah.
So William, read the bottom line for me, please.
Think I need to borrow your glasses for this.
Yeah.
Actually,
No,
I'll
I'm
tell you what.
struggling too.
I'll tell you what. In this age, in this day and age, what am I doing reading when I can just Google it?
I have to say I have been on Croquet scores to read the stuff. Why not?
Who needs glasses when you have Croquet scores? So the good news is I nailed it. The problem is, nevertheless, it's spelt wrong. Resonance. And Latvian. And then we need it. It's now 1-0 to Hodgett. Yes. But unless you want to come here and do it yourselves. I do. But yeah. So currently powered by homemade sandwiches by I think Aimguard's catering today. Done a great job. And in fact, Eugene is feeling brave enough to do commentary. So we're going to hand over, and I'm going to be listening and see what I can learn.
Well, that's very, very kind of you, Will. So you'll notice that in the morning commentary, I really didn't say anything because I'm a real introvert and I don't really say very much, especially when I'm by myself. Will's sniggering in the background as he slides off. Will, I want at least double the amount of sandwiches you're eating. So yeah, Will's just heading off to get some sandwiches for us. And in the meantime, Jason Hodgett has taken a 1-0 lead. So now I am away from the camera trying to do a bit of I'm away from the laptop trying to do a bit of camera work and also seeing what's going on here. So this is kind of exciting for me because actually I haven't really watched many Latvians play so far. I think I have met a Latvian player a few years ago called Andros Savanovs. And I think he is currently playing the GC qualifiers, or will be playing the GC qualifiers in Guildford and Godalming, who hasn't started already. So here's our first chance to see what Niels is doing. He's trying to take, he's trickling up to the hoop. So now let's see what Jason can do. So it looks like Jason's looking to clear the yellow here because he expects that blue can jump over the red or similar. Right, so let's see what happens. So there's an option of Niels clearing blue beyond the hoop so that it can't see the red, or it could just